What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your host, Kory Willis. I hope everyone is doing well on a Monday. Had a chance to watch a lot of college football over the weekend. We just wrapped up week 10 of the college football season. It was a fun week, so I hope your favorite team won, got the W this weekend, and you got to celebrate it with your friends and family. As always, we appreciate you guys listening in on the show. We're on many different streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms. So we very much appreciate you guys listening in on the show. As always, feel free to leave us a like, comment, subscribe to the show. It very much helps us. It lets us know what we're doing and how we can improve for the future. So it's great that you guys can engage with us each and every week. So feel free to do that when you can. As always, I'm with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is. He is Chris Bolton. What's going on, Chris?
What's going on, Kory? How we feeling?
Hey, we just wrapped up week 10, heading into week 11. We're in November now, knee deep in it. Right. So, feeling good.
I know. We are knee deep in it. Should be feeling good. I'm sure some people feeling better than others. This was a crazy weekend. If you got this W this weekend, baby, you earned it.
Absolutely.
We got some games we're going to talk about. There was some well-earned and some well-deserved dubs. And then some losses where I'm sure they probably wish they could take back a play or two. But we're going to get to all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, these are the weeks that, we live for on this show. And just in general, as college football fans, you love the experience games.
I mean,
like this.
We said it would be chaos.
Yeah,
it did. There was some chaos.
We got sure. Yeah, we got our fair share of chaos.
We got some chaos, and we got some teams that survived by the hairs on their chin that just squeaked by.
Absolutely,
but it wasn't easy.
No. Not by any stretch of imagination, it wasn't easy. But you know how it is, Chris. Once you hit November, no game is easy.
Nope. Not even the ones you would look at the schedule and think, this should be an easy one. Nah, it definitely wasn't. Yeah. I think the first game we're going to talk about, it definitely is a tale of that.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, if you watch this game over the weekend, I'm pretty sure there were some people in the Austin area that almost survived like near heart attacks over the weekend. But yeah, if you were watching this game, the Texas Longhorns hosted Kansas State over the weekend. This was a very big game for both teams. But for Texas, with them holding that number 7 spot in the CFP, everything was and still is in front of them in terms of trying to make the playoffs. And overall, the Longhorns outlasted number 23 Kansas State 33-30 in DKR. Texas is now 8-1, and Kansas State is now 6-3 overall. What do you think about this game?
Is the perfect way to describe
that game. What do you think overall with this game? Because you're definitely right. Like they fought tooth and nail to come out of this game with a W, and it definitely had it definitely had the drama, of course, of a game
for
in
sure.
November.
For sure. Leading up to this matchup, we talked about it, and I said I took Kansas State, and I feel like everything that played out in the game were the reasons I warned of Kansas State very well winning this ball game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it was so interesting. Texas came out hot. The Horns were ahead 17 zilch.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Longhorn fans were. You might have had a little bit of trepidation, but you had to feel really good. You hadn't seen Texas come out and get to a hot start like this all season long.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of people that was like, hey, we're feeling good. Like I've never seen this team play this well since the Bama game. I'm kind of liking this right now.
Then you go to the kitchen. You get you some snacks. You might have had a phone call. You talking to somebody. You chop it up for about 20 minutes, and you come back to the living room and you turn back the game, and you like, what the hell happened? What I missed? Because as fast as it was 17-0, baby, it was a ball game that quick in an instant.
They just came back from the locker room, and all of a sudden, hey, you would have been wondering if Kona Stallions would have been out there on the side. Like, did K-State, did they steal the signs from Texas?
Bruh, it was a whole different ball game. But it's interesting, like the fact that Kansas State got in this game because they just threw their game plan, and what got them to that point, they just threw it away. They leaned on Will Howard. Texas. I'm gonna start off by saying this. I'm gonna give Texas his credit for winning the game, for surviving and doing what was necessary and needed to win. The guys, Malik Murphy made enough plays. He hit A.D. Mitchell on some big time routes downfield, and that's been the Texas formula, whether it's Murphy at quarterback or it's Quinn Ewers. Mm-hmm. Texas has lived off of the explosives to get their scores and their touchdowns for the most part this season. And Sark game plan dialed up those plays, and they executed them enough to get the victory. But boy, did they do some Texas stuff as well. Some critical turnovers. Kansas State, they made some big defensive plays, whether it was forcing a fumble and then turning around and capitalizing their red zone opportunities. Texas had a couple times, like we mentioned before, the red zone struggles of this team, that they didn't turn them into touchdowns. The game could have been much worse than 17-0. That game could have been 31-0 at half. There were a couple possessions that Texas came up short and didn't get anything. And so Kansas State turned it around and truly made it the ball game that I anticipated it being. And I feel like Coach Kleiman has beat himself up right now. They took that game by his horns, literally, pun intended. They took the game by the horns, and it was the reverse Uno. They put the pressure on Texas. And if it wasn't for a couple special teams mistakes, a missed extra point, the missed field goal, we are probably talking very differently about this ball game, Kory. So both teams had their mistakes. I think Kansas State should have forced this game to go to overtime and trusted their kicker to get the field goal to continue to force the game to go on, but they went for it, didn't get it, and and I just think that's a little tough. I think in that situation, your team was playing better in the second half. You know, it was a tale of two tapes. That first half was all Texas, and the second half was majority Kansas State. And I think I would have been curious to see how a freshman quarterback in the biggest game of his life performs in overtime, because Malik Murphy did not look like the guy he was that first half. He struggled the second half. So, again, kudos to Texas for getting the win. And I will not take that away from the Longhorns. The defense was stellar, was incredible. You forced Kansas State to not be able to do what they normally do. They look like a top 20 defense in the nation, one of the best defenses in the country. But again, I really do. I feel like Kansas State's probably they have to move on, but I'm sure Coach Kleiman is beating himself up for it, at least not allowing his team to continue to play like they did that second half. They were the better team that second half, and I kind of feel like if the game continued, it would have been very interesting to see how Malik Murphy would have responded in an overtime battle with a veteran quarterback on the other sideline.
Agreed. After a game like this where Kansas State, they were fighting in this game, just the resiliency from this team to fight back, to get them into overtime.
Have a position. Yeah, exactly.
They had an opportunity there to win the football game, but that resiliency from Texas actually helped them to win the football game, and being at home, of course, that really energized them as well. I mean, Texas has been pretty good at home as of late. So yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. Everything was there for them to win the football game. But overall, you gotta give it to Texas. At the end of the day, Malik Murphy throwing 2 picks. I know you mentioned the fumbles, of course, in the game.
Costly turnovers. It's literally what we laid it out there. We talked about Kansas State's, red zone defense, and that came into play. We talked about Texas's inefficiencies in the red zone. We talked about Kansas State, such a good third down team, and when they were in third and manageable, they converted those third downs, and especially in the second half. It was so much of what we said lining up, and ultimately it just came down to can you make the play? For the majority of the second half, Kansas State made the play. But then at the end, Texas defense, they made the play at the end of the game to get the stop and to win this game. And it's very fitting because that defensive front was great all game. I mean, to make a team literally say, we can't run the ball, we can't do what we do. Kansas State's one of the 10 best rushing offenses in the country, and they made them be like, we can't run the ball, and they passed the ball the second half, and that's how they got back in the game.
That's it's amazing how all of those chain of events turn this game into the thriller that it's
classic.
Was. Yeah. It's just because we're down to the wire, and we're down to the wire in this game. Kansas State has the opportunity to win it, just can't seal the deal.
tough one for the Wildcats, for the reigning Big 12 champions. But I'm sure this team will answer back. I'm sure they'll be. They won't let this one sink the season. They already had a tough loss to Missouri earlier in the year. Another tough loss to a team we'll talk about here in a little bit, Oklahoma State. And it wasn't expected for them to win this game. I'm sure they expected to, but they'll bounce back. But Texas, the Longhorns are still sitting pretty in position where they want to be, and they have everything. They control their own destiny. You know, they're very well right there in the running to make the playoff as a one-loss team.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm very much. I was very much pleased to see how Texas fought back in this game overall. Just because they were right there to lose this football game, and you know they were resilient to the end. And I was pleased to see how they started off in the game, because they started off hot. So
they did. Now you just need them to put it together for 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Or 60 minutes. Yeah.
Putting it together, putting a good game plan together for 60 minutes is a must now for Texas. So we'll see what Sark and company does now. Like you said, they're 8-1 now. They're still sitting pretty. Everything is still in front of them when it pertains to the CFP. So we'll see what happens going forward.
Right. Next up, take on an in-state foe, TCU. I think I'm curious to see what the status of Quinn's shoulder is. It's been 2 weeks. I think this is an injury. It's only like 3 to 4 weeks it takes to heal. So we'll see if he plays in this TCU game. I personally think they will hold him out. You don't want to risk in a re-injury, bringing him back too soon, whether it's for the season and also for the player. I mean, Quinn is a projected first-round pick, you know. So I'm sure Texas will do right by Quinn. If you can get by Kansas State, I'm sure they feel confident they can get by TCU. No knock to the Horned Frogs, but and then after you have TCU, you have a trip to Iowa State. I know the Cyclones just lost, but the Big 12 is the Big 12, and that won't be an easy game, I think, at Iowa State. And then you finish off the regular season with Texas Tech coming to town, and you know, rivalry games. It's enough said right there. No matter what the records are of the team that year, it can be interesting. So,
absolutely,
Texas they should be favorites in all their games moving forward, but they gotta take care of business, man. You know, can't have that letdown after getting a big win like this one.
Right, exactly. So, we'll see what goes, what happens from here for Texas. And we'll see what happens with K-State going as we head down the stretch, just for both teams, because everything's still in front of both teams to have a good season. But as for Texas, we'll definitely see what happens. See if they can finish strong.
Can they get over the hump? Sark has had good teams. Can he get this team to the playoff? That's the question.
Yep, that's the question everyone wants to know.
I struggle to believe next year's defense will be better than this. I feel like you have. This is an elite defense. you don't want to waste this defense. You have an NFL quarterback. I know you got some guys who could very well end up being NFL QBs with Murphy and Arch and waiting, but you don't want to take this year for granted. You need to maximize this season. That's all I'm saying. I'm sure all the Texas fans agree.
Absolutely. You went out this season. You have a shot at being in that playoff. Just let everything else happen the way that it's intended to. And stay the course, is what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I can say when it comes to Texas. So we'll see. But people are happy in Austin after that win.
I bet they are. They know that, man. That game, we could have a whole other discussion today.
Yeah. Well, I saw it didn't do this. Well, I saw it didn't do that.
Yeah, it could be one of them days, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they are happy. You look, a win is a win.
Exactly. Any way you can get it. Any way you can get it. Oh, man. But yeah, anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
Nah, nothing else to add to this one. We can keep it on moving, man. Speaking of chaos, there was bedlam at Bedlam.
Oh boy, Bedlam, one of the greatest college football rivalry names that I can think of in the sport of college football. And you're right, Chris, this was Bedlam. From top to bottom.
To a T, yes.
So yeah, the final Bedlam game, ladies and gentlemen, happened over the weekend. It did live up to the hype. Number 22, Oklahoma State defeated number 9, Oklahoma, 27-24. Mike Gundy was happy. He said this win was much needed for his program. And yeah, the Bedlam game, as what we know it, what we've seen this rivalry to be, won't be happening going forward anytime soon. Now that Oklahoma is heading into the SEC and starting next year in 2024. So, yeah, Oklahoma State got the W. They advanced to 7-2 on the season. Oklahoma is now 7-2. They have their second loss of the season, and now it's pretty much solidified that Oklahoma is out of the running for the playoffs. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday when we get the new CFP rankings. But overall, Chris, what did you think of this game?
This game was crazy. It was everything I thought it would be. Kudos to Oklahoma State. They made it happen, and it was interesting to see how they made it happen. Of course, leading up to this ball game, we talked about the greatness of Ollie Gordon, and he played great. Of course, he had over 100 rushing yards, had 137 rush yards, 2 touchdowns.
Great game by him.
It was Rashad Owens who stole the show for Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I feel like he had every pass thrown to him.
He had 10 receptions. So
10 catches, 136 yards. They just kept targeting him, and it was working. So he had a big time game for this for the Cowboys, but the play, I will be remiss if I didn't mention this. The play that I'm sure Sooners fans won't be letting go for a while was the pass interference that was not called in the end zone when Drake Stoops had a chance to catch a touchdown late in the ball game. It's a tough no call. It was definitely a PI.
Yeah.
And you hate that happened in a game of this magnitude. And I'm sure Oklahoma's a little salty about that, but there were opportunities in this game that it shouldn't have come to that if Oklahoma executes. And I think this is just a product of this is just sports. There are so many plays and moments that don't get called. But there are 10 other plays in the ball game if you execute properly. That play doesn't have to be called. You know what I'm saying? That you don't have to leave it in the ref's hands, as coaches love to say. And I'm sure that's what the coaches will tell us. Yes, they didn't call that call, but we shouldn't put them in position to where we needed that to win the game. And so that's my takeaway, is that it's a terrible miscall. But I don't think it should overshadow. It should take away the shine from Oklahoma State putting together a very solid performance, over 300 pass yards, over 100 on the ground. Oklahoma did well too. Drake Stoops balled out, but there was still some money left out there on the field. You know what I'm saying? Oklahoma didn't collect, and it shows on the scoreboard. You know, they very well, I feel like, played the better game and should have left Stillwater with the W.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't.
Yeah, they definitely went into that game. I mean, you never want to go into any game one to lose, especially to your rival. But
oh man, that's why this game was so crazy, because we know it's not happening again for at least the next 10 years, probably.
Yeah, that's what makes them probably feel sick to the stomach right now, is knowing that your little brother actually screwed you.
Man, could you imagine? Imagine A&M beating Texas, and then there's a 12-year gap, 15-year gap before Texas could play A&M again. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that would be crazy.
That's the Oklahoma equivalent of what's going on though with this one.
Yeah, you're right. Because unless there's a bowl game that transpires between you two, that's the only time you get in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Flat out. So yeah, it's hats off to Oklahoma State. They fought like hell to win this football game, and they were going back and forth with each other, of course.
Oh yeah,
this game did live up to the hype. At times you were looking at it like, man, this is the most bedlam game.
Oh my goodness,
I've ever seen. Of course, it had everything.
That place was rocking too, man.
Oh yeah, it was rocking. It was rocking.
You knew when the game was over that they were going to storm the field. I mean, it had everything.
Yeah. That's what made it so special, of course. You watch all of these college football games, and then, knowing what's going to happen now with the realignments on the horizon and everything. It's just, man, see a rivalry like this, so prestigious, finish in this way. You see the crowd, just celebrating, and you just look at those moments, and you're just like, man, this is what rivalries like this are all about. This is what college football is all about. So yeah, like I said, hats off to Oklahoma State. Big win, 7-2 now. They're actually in the driver's seat at that number 2 spot now. So they look to be the top contenders that want to face Texas by the time we hit the Big 12 championship game. So I'm sure that game is going to be big, and I can't wait to see it. But yeah, anything else, Chris, you want to mention about this game?
So, and when you look at the schedule, Oklahoma State is in prime position to play in the Big 12 championship game.
Mm-hmm.
You had a win over Kansas earlier in the season. You also now got the win over Oklahoma. Iowa State beat you, but Iowa State lost to Kansas this weekend, which is a big help. So we could potentially, when you look at these 3 remaining games in the regular season, at UCF, at Houston, home against BYU, all games Oklahoma State should win.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we might be looking at a Texas Oklahoma State Big 12 championship game. Ollie Gordon and what he possesses at running back, his talents going up against that Texas front 7. That'd be very interesting to see. I'm intrigued. I would like to see it.
Hey,
I would love to see
I would love to see it. You and me both. I would love to see Ollie Gordon take on that Texas defense. Like, take my money.
Yeah, for real though. And I'm curious to see just how Oklahoma State closes the season. We've seen Oklahoma State have good teams before. Can they seal the deal though? Mm-hmm. You got the win over Oklahoma. Great. Can you punctuate this season and win out, at least for the regular season, and put yourself in position to play in the January bowl game? One of the big 6 games.
Yeah.
Potentially be a 2-loss team to make the playoff. We don't know what's going to happen as the season continues. So you just got to win game by game. But there's a lot of football left to be played. We'll talk about in our show next week. Not next week, but later on this week, mm-hmm. as we preview the matchups. Georgia and Ole Miss play.
I can't wait for that game.
There's a lot that can still happen. There's a lot that has to take place. So Oklahoma State, I know they have 2 losses. I don't think we can just say they're out of the mix, though. If you win out and then potentially win the Big 12 championship game, and what the boost that can be to your resume too now, with wins over Oklahoma and potentially at Texas. So there's still a lot to play for them, and we'll see how they close out this season.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll keep a close eye on it, and just because it's Big 12 conference this year, with OU and Texas, being its last. And, all of the other teams that have been playing competitive in the conference, it's been fun. So,
it's been wacky. It's only going to get wackier.
Yeah.
It's the Big 12. I mean, you think looking at the going into the preseason, from the preseason into the season, like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to play out. Nope.
No. Who would have?
No.
Who would have?
You don't know how it's going to play out.
Exactly.
Ollie Gordon wasn't even a starting running back for Oklahoma State to start the season. It took him game 4 to get the starting spot, and now he's putting up Heisman numbers. Has over 1,000 yards rushing this season. It's just crazy.
Yeah. He is very impressive.
Yes, one of my favorite players to watch play football in college. Mm-hmm. And there's a few more that we'll talk about that we saw in the next game.
Oh yeah,
we'll recap.
Hey, we can do it now. we can do it now. If you're all good on everything we talked about in with the Bedlam game.
Yeah, I think I am. Tough loss for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But like we said, we felt like they were a little ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. This team has its flaws. And it didn't help that they had their mistakes. Even their head coach had a critical mistake. Mm-hmm. Got called for a personal foul and gave Oklahoma State 15 yards. Oklahoma State was backed up at the goal line on the drive that they made downfield to win the ball game. So you can't have those kinds of mistakes where your coach loses his cool. So I think it's a tough loss for Oklahoma, a learning moment for Venables as a head coach. He's been a spectacular DC, but not his best moment in that ball game with that flag being thrown on him. But it is what it is. I think we're about to really see what Oklahoma is made of. We knew they were going to come out ready for that game. There was no way they weren't going to, even though they lost to Kansas. But now is where we really see we're going to really find out who Oklahoma is after a tough loss in this game.
Agreed. I think this team, while they're very much improved over last year's team, this team is not quite at the level of a Texas yet. And they beat Texas. But in terms of handling adversity, they're not quite there yet, but they can still have a good season to close out, and we'll see what happens in bowl season with OU. But no, I definitely agree with you. So we'll see. We will see what happens.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, partner, we got through UT and K-State. We took care of Bedlam. You want to talk about some LSU and Bama now?
Let's do it.
All right. So, we had LSU and Alabama in T-Town over the weekend. This game was very much a game that I wanted to witness just because of the implications with this game. Mm-hmm. Whoever took control in this game and ultimately won, they were pretty much in the driver's seat in the SEC West division. But overall, Chris, the Tide
baby. Roll Tide.
Defeated the LSU Tigers 42-28 in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's now 8-1. LSU is now 6-3. And Alabama's pretty much riding high. They've figured out what their identity is on offense. Their defense is playing a little better. Jalen Milroe, he was 15 for 23 with 219 yards passing. But where he shined and where he shines is with his legs.
Yes.
20 carries, 155 yards with 4 touchdowns. This man was the workhorse. He is the workhorse of this Alabama team, I should say. Got him the W. and Nick Saban was very much pleased with his performance, but also very much pleased with his team, with battling a pretty good LSU team and finding a way to win. So, what did you think overall, Chris, about this game?
I think Alabama, they played a really good game. This team has just continued to improve. They've improved so much throughout the course of this season. And Jalen Milroe has had his struggles, but I think now they have really tuned this offense to maximize his abilities. They have started to find some guys in that receiving core. Isaiah Bond is someone who has emerged that they are continuing to get the ball in the space in his hands.
Yeah, that was a guy that
he is someone I really like. Yeah. And that was a problem to start the season. They changed the rotation. They changed their lineup at receiver. They got some guys out here who we didn't see initially to start the year. And now they were able to get their shine and to prove themselves. And it's paying off. And that is what Alabama needed. They needed some guys to step up and showcase, give us a reason to play you. They needed some talent. All the talent they lost at receiver over the years, they needed some guys to step up. And so Isaiah has provided that spark. Kendrick Law is another player who's had his moments. But also the backs. The backs have been big time too. You got guys like Roydale Williams. He's been playing solid. Jace McClellan. Alabama isn't flashy. Those guys aren't the flashiest players. They aren't the biggest. They aren't the fastest running backs. They're good. And they get the job done. They've been very sound, and I think it's just we got to give credit to this team for improving, and the coaching staff for continuing to find ways to put these guys who might not be the Jalen Waddles, the Henry Ruggs, the Devontae Smiths, the Calvin Ridleys, and all the lineage of running backs that Alabama's had. It might not be those guys, but they're still very good players, and they're out here winning big time games and coming into their own. So Bama is nobody to take lightly. And this team, as much as we might have wanted to dead them off in the playoff race early on after losing to Texas, they are very much alive and playing for a national championship.
I agree. And the performance of Milroe, this is who Alabama is now, folks. And I think you can even ask Nick Saban. They embrace with who they are. They're embracing with who they are this year. They're not the flashy Alabama team that you've seen in the past. This is who they are. They're not totally explosive in every single offensive position, but they play very hard. When plays need to be made, they will make them. And you have guys like Jalen Milroe that is so athletic. You have to put guys like that on the field and let them be them. And I think Nick Saban has figured out that it's best to just let Jalen be Jalen. And he's done a really good job with getting that coaching staff to adapt to that, to adapt to what his skill set is, and hey, just letting him go with it. And Milroe himself he's taken it upon himself to, be that calm, cool, and collected quarterback out there that he can be for his team. Mm-hmm. So, he doesn't get phased by really much of anything. When the going gets tough, he's still out there doing what he needs to do to, lead his team to victory. So, no, you're right, Chris.
Oh, I mean, LSU had them in some 3rd and longs.
Yeah.
But they weren't long enough. He still got you 12, 13 yards in some cases, with his legs and extended drives. He's a very talented dual threat QB, and is only getting better and better with each start. More experience. In this game, LSU did lose quarterback Jaden Daniels early in the 4th quarter after a hit he took to the chin. Mm-hmm. For a possible concussion. He was out for the rest of the game. Granted, play Alabama kind of had this game in a the game wasn't over by any means, but Alabama was definitely on their way to winning the game when Daniels left. But it would have been nice to see Daniels be able to play the entire 4th, and if he could have helped LSU spark a comeback. But Alabama's defense had already proven they can get stops on Daniels. So I don't think that changed or manipulated the outcome of this ball game at all.
No, you're right. It's tough that we didn't get to see Daniels finish out the football game. At the time of us recording this show, I think he is in concussion protocol after that hit made by Dallas Turner. So as of right now, we don't know what the status is on him going forward, but we wish him the best, of course. But it's tough. We wish we would have saw this game all the way through with him out there.
Definitely. It's tough for LSU, man. 3 losses at this point. I mean, still have to play A&M. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like the toughest challenge, but as we saw this weekend, you better ask Ole Miss. And I said Jimbo got one more in him. And he almost got deep. He reached in his bag to try to make it happen against the Rebs.
Hey, we'll see.
I'm sure he's going to try to make it happen against LSU when that time comes. But yeah, that game was crazy too. But yeah, tough for LSU, man. 3 losses already at this point. Yeah, not the season that Tigers fans envisioned at the start.
No, I mean,
especially with the offense like this.
Yeah, when you look at this team, you could just look at this team on paper and you're like, man, this is a team that's primed to lead you into the CFP. So
this is one of the best offenses in the nation. I mean, it's right there with Oregon and your Washingtons. Jaden Daniels still is going to be the SEC Player of the Year to me, and can still earn an invite for the Heisman Trophy. I don't think he's going to win it, but I still think the numbers say it all. That boy should be invited. He need to be in New York for that.
Yeah, I think so. Look, stats speak for himself.
And they have 3 losses. That's tough, man. That's how bad this defense is.
Yeah.
It's not an LSU defense.
No, it's not.
I'm not sure they got the best defense in the state of Louisiana. Tulane might have a better defense.
You know what? You get you're getting somewhere now. Like that Tulane defense is pretty good. That Tulane team, just overall, is a pretty decent team. So I don't know. I mean,
who would have thought we'd have been saying that in preseason? I know we all thought Tulane was good. We wouldn't expect Tulane to have the best defense in the state.
Huh? Yeah. None
you might need to see it through the region. Was it Louisiana now? I think they took off the instead of saying Louisiana Lafayette, but it's just called Louisiana.
Yeah.
Their defense might be right there with LSU too.
Oh,
that's
man.
how much of a struggle.
Well, that's rough. I can't help you with that, LSU.
Yeah. Tough for Brian Kelly, and he knows it. I think it's out of his control.
Mm-hmm.
They need some young guys to emerge. They tried to fix things in the portal. The portal has not worked for patching up the secondary, and they gonna have to get after it in the recruiting trail. I'm gonna have to see what their class is currently looking like, but I'm sure it probably has an elite corner prospect in it committed already. If it doesn't,
yeah, I agree. Because they need help in that secondary, and yeah, if there was anything you could say that was keeping LSU away from making it far this year, was that secondary. That secondary and the defensive line as well, just because they've been off and on a lot this year.
And it hurts too because they lost one of their key guys early in the season, I believe. Was it to cancer? News of him having cancer?
Yeah, yeah.
Their defensive tackle. So that was going to be he was going to be a big player for them. I mean, it's just it's tough to replace those kind of guys, but nobody cares about that at the end of the day, you know. I mean, you're LSU, you're supposed to have somebody next man up, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yes.
That gets lost in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When we look in the history books.
Yeah, it's that next man up mentality is huge, and so far this year LSU hasn't had that opportunity to.
Nobody's emerged.
Yeah, no one's emerged from that. So yeah, it's definitely set them back this season. But hey, I mean, if I was a head coach and I lost 3 games, and those 3 games were against Bama, Ole Miss, and Florida State, I mean,
3 teams in the top 10.
Yeah. But I can understand, you know, you are LSU. You should be the one.
Well, Bama will potentially. Let me see. Yeah, Bama's a top 10 team. Yeah, Bama's number 8. Yeah. Bama's 8. Ole Miss 10. Florida State is what, 3?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's not bad. But you want to win one of those too.
No, you're right. You do. So it's
The
It's
schedule,
unfortunate though.
baby.
If you're right, the schedule is difficult. It's unfortunate for LSU fans, but that's just the way it is in the SEC.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is.
That's right.
Yeah. Tough.
But yeah, big game for Alabama. They look like they finally started to figure out who they are, what their identity is, and
Yeah, they know who they are.
yeah,
I feel confident in saying that. Anything else you got on this one?
no, I have nothing else on this game. Kudos to Alabama. They're 8-1, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday after a victory like this.
I'm good on it too. So we can want to move on to the one that had us confuddled. We didn't know what the heck was gonna happen in this one.
Look, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it now. I've been ready to talk about this game. So yeah, folks. We're about to head out west to our last game that we're gonna talk about on today's show. That game being the Washington Huskies taking on the USC Trojans in California. This game was very, very fun. Both quarterbacks, one being Michael Penix Jr., a guy with Heisman aspirations. The resume speaks for itself. I think he's going to be one of the top candidates in for that Heisman by the time we get there, taking on Heisman Trophy winner last season, Caleb Williams. This game lived up to the hype. I loved it. And at the end, the Washington Huskies, number 5 Washington Huskies, defeated number 20 USC 52-42. And now Washington is 9-0. USC is now 7-3. We just heard that Lincoln Riley has fired his defensive coordinator. He is out. So yeah, this game was very much exciting. Like I said, Michael Penix Jr. he was 20 for 30, 256 yards with 2 touchdowns, threw 1 interception. Caleb Williams, he was 27 for 35 with 312 yards with 3 touchdowns.
Some ridiculous plays.
Just
that 4th down when he rolled out and turned back around and had the arm strength to throw it to the opposite end zone, corner of the end zone for that touchdown. Oh my goodness! I was watching that live. I said, "What the heck?"
And not just that, the flea flicker from Williams.
Did he just do that?
I can't even call it a flea flicker. It was supposed to be a running play that turned out to be a passing play for a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of different plays in this game that were just jaw dropping.
This game was wacky.
Yes, because Washington had a running game.
Yeah, which folks we have to talk about that right now. Dylan Johnson, former Mississippi State running back Dylan Johnson, was a beast in this game. I know we like talking about beast. But Dylan Johnson, he had himself a game. 26 carries, 256 yards with 4 touchdowns. Just a monster day by Johnson. Yeah. I can't say anything anymore. What did you think about just the performance from Washington, Chris, in this game?
So Washington, they are such a interesting team, Kory. Like, I don't know if we learned anything else about them this weekend, honestly.
Could they be the
I
most
really don't know if
weirdest
we
team
learned
in
anything
college
about
football?
them.
Look, I think you're right, but they're just a weird football team, man.
They ran up and down the field on USC. And I mean, I'm a veer off on a tangent, a slight tangent, real quick. I think the defensive coordinator being fired, he is the scapegoat. There is an internal problem in this program. Like there is something deeper than the DC and this defense being bad. There is. It's not. It can't be on just solely the defensive coordinator. I think there is the values in this program. I just don't think they align to being with how this team is constructed. So many transfers. So I think it's really hard and difficult to kind of develop the kind of defense that you need to win when you have so much change with this USC program. And also Lakin Riley's track record ain't one of teams that play defense, not at his past stops either.
No, if you look at that Oklahoma team,
they don't play defense. They never played defense when he was at Oklahoma. So I really think the defensive coordinator being let go. I don't know. It seems like he was in a tough position to start because I just don't feel like they care about defense at USC.
nah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just pretty much agreeing to you. I definitely don't think they care about it just because look at your coach.
Yeah, exactly. So for him to be fired, I ain't really feeling that. I know the defense has been not good, but still, I'm not really feeling that. But with Washington, Dylan Johnson was running like he was back in Mississippi, in at high school in Mississippi. I mean, that boy was.
He was balling.
He had more yards than Mississippi State had in offense against Kentucky.
It burns.
He alone had more yards than Mississippi State's entire offense on Saturday. The former Bulldog.
Oh, God.
I don't think he made a bad move transferring to Washington. It's panning out pretty nicely right now.
No, I think I think when you look at it, I think he made the right decision at the end of the day.
For sure.
I think so.
For sure. But it will be interesting to see, does this move forward? Can Washington continue to run the ball? Now, odds are they just played a USC team, whose defense is so atrocious that they just fired their defensive coordinator in the middle of the season. So that doesn't give me too much hope that this Washington running attack that has been missing in action all season will sustain and continue as we close out the regular season. But if they have somehow found a rushing game, Washington is dangerous. They can continue to run the football the way they did Saturday with what Michael Penix and that receiving core he has. Washington's a little more for real then, if that's the case. If they can be a balanced, complete team.
Yeah.
I don't think they will be, but there is a possibility. There is a chance.
Yeah, I mean, like Michael Penix Jr. I mean, while he had a great day himself, I mean, we learned a lot about this Washington Huskies team where we were just all surprised. Like, man, they can really be a ground and pound football team as well. Who would have saw that coming, Chris?
Nobody, but it makes all the sense in the world because of who it was against, Kory.
Yeah.
It was against USC.
It just all reverts back to that again.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to take any credit away from Washington, but at the same time, we got to keep it a buck. And we've been saying all season how bad USC's defense is. And the one game when Washington can finally run the football, it just happened to be against USC. Take that for what you will.
I just think, because I know you mentioned the defensive coordinator being the scapegoat for this USC team. Like, because we know that Lincoln Riley teams are terrible at playing defense, like, I'm sorry, I just don't look at that as being enough for Lincoln Riley to get out of Dodge on this one, Chris. Like, at some point, boosters, administration has to pin Lincoln Riley in a corner and say, why isn't this team being competitive defensively? What do we need to make sure for you that you have all the resources to go out there and get some of the best talent defensively? Because this is just unacceptable at this point.
It is. It's beyond unacceptable. You have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who returned. Normally, when your quarterback wins the Heisman, his ass it goes to NFL the next season. You know, he ain't normally on your roster back the following year.
Nah, he gone. He out of here.
He definitely ain't gonna be after this year.
He that's it.
The fact that you have squandered a year where you have the best quarterback in the nation, and what this offense does at times, and you know, there is potential in the points they put up and everything. I mean, you know, it's a very good offense to no avail. This is a team that can very well finish out the year with a very disappointing record. A very, very disappointing record, because it doesn't get any easier. You got to go up against that man. Who would have thought we would have been calling him that man at this point of the year? But Bo Nix, you got to go up against the Oregon Ducks, buddy. Congratulations on losing to Washington. Next up, you got to go to the Austin Zoo. You got to go to the Gulag. I don't know if you play Call of Duty, Kory, but they sending USC to the Gulag. You got to go play Oregon.
Oh my God! Like, look, it was one thing of seeing Oregon beat down on Colorado earlier in the year, Chris. I think this game, compared to that game, it's gonna be more than a beatdown.
You can guarantee. You can guarantee that's going to be a Bolton bet. Later on in this week, you can guarantee it. That game is going to be a bloodbath.
Yes,
but yeah, and USC already has 3 losses. This team potentially can finish the season. They're 7-3, and you got Oregon, UCLA. Hey man, we're going to see. They might end up. Is the Holiday Bowl still a thing?
Oh yeah, I think so.
You know, these bowl games, their names change every year. We might end up in the Holiday Bowl this year.
let's see right quick. just for quick giggles. Because we're getting a little closer to bowl season, Chris. I think we can start, kind of thinking about which bowl
trying to map things out and project. Yeah. They might end up in the Holiday Bowl this year. Who saw that coming?
Oh my gosh! So let's see. Yes, we have at San Diego, Chris, the DirecTV Holiday Bowl.
DirecTV. Hey, them boys ain't even going to travel too far. They're going to have to stay in the state.
Exactly, and get beat down on DirecTV.
Oh man, it's tough, man. It's tough. And then more than likely, if you're in the Holiday Bowl, I know who ain't gonna be playing in the Holiday Bowl. You're probably gonna be starting a new quarterback for that game.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a disaster of a season for USC.
Yeah,
it really is.
This is a flat out disaster.
There's no other way to put it. I'm curious to see Lincoln Riley's status if he sticks around. Because, like I said, I think it's a program issue, and it starts with the head coach as to why this team does not care on defense.
No.
And so
something has to give, Chris. At some
if you ain't gonna ball out this year with Caleb Williams at quarterback, I don't care how much better the defense is next year. That offense is not going to be. It's not going to be what it was the last two seasons. You just don't replace a Caleb Williams.
No.
So I'm very curious to see if Lincoln Riley, if he gets out of Dodge, if he makes a move. Because I personally think he does. I don't think he's back at USC next year. I don't know. We'll see.
This is so crazy. You remember when he first got there and he was like, "Oh man, I'm happy to be here." People from Oklahoma was just livid that he just left and made the school look like buffoons, Chris. And if this guy leaves, literally, what was this, his second year? If he leaves,
they done had a coach leave real soon in his tenure before.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be the first time. They have some similarities. Both love offense,
That they do. but the difference between the other guy and Lincoln is that the other guy is actually having a good season at another school right now. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's learned from his ways. Yeah. Kiffin has learned he's learned a thing or two from his time in coaching. Right. Or so it seems, he's got things rolling out there at Ole Miss. Speaking of Lane Kiffin, we might as well touch on this game.
So let's go ahead and do our quick blitz on all the rest of the games this week. Anything else you want to talk about Washington USC?
There ain't nothing else that we need to talk about Washington USC.
Oh man, no, agree. But yeah.
But speaking of Lane Kiffin, I had that game on the side while watching Kansas State and Texas. There was that noon slate. Slight tangent. The noon slate we had this past Saturday. That is one of the all-time noon slates.
It was great.
That might have been the best noon slate we had this year. Ain't no Mike. That was. The drama, the quality of games, that Kansas State Texas game going on at the same time as Ole Miss and A&M and how that game finished, going on at the same time with Florida and Arkansas going to overtime as well. Irrelevant nationally, but just for the love of the game, all that was going on at once. It was too much, Kory. It was so much going on. And it was so glorious.
I loved it. It was amazing.
But that A&M Ole Miss game was off the rails as well. A&M very well could have won that game.
They could have, but they didn't.
They didn't. Ole Miss survives. Jimbo almost had it. I knew Jimbo was going to. He was going to dig deep in his bag to try to get that one. That man's fighting for his job. He needed that one.
Couldn't do it.
But Ole Miss, top 10 team in the nation.
You gotta give it to him.
Jackson Dart threw for over 300 yards against that A&M defense.
Mm-hmm.
We got a game Saturday. Ole Miss and Georgia. Should be interesting. A chance for Lane to get that real premier signature win that he's looking for at Ole Miss. If he beats Georgia, they're going to start working on that statue of Lane Kiffin the next day. They're going to erect a statue of that man out there in Oxford if he gets a win over Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look. They keep finding ways to win, Chris.
They do.
That's all.
And it's not normal ways either. The defense is stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's been missing.
I agree. You can't say anything any differently. Like they're finding ways to win these football games. The defense each week steps up and leads the team to victory. And it's different guys out there on defense swarming to the football, making plays. It's
quite the sight to see, and it's as two Mississippi State grads, alumnus. It hurts a little bit to see just how high Ole Miss is at this point in time in the national landscape, and to see Mississippi State getting outrushed by a running back, getting out total yards by a running back, having more. I mean, it's rough. It's rough. Mississippi State is down bad.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, from watching Ole Miss play and persevere like they have all season, but especially in this game this past weekend, and then looking, down south from Oxford, this team is terrible. There's no way.
Garbage.
There's no other way around it. Folks.
Garbage. You could not. I would not believe you if you told me, if I was just dropped to the earth at this point in time, and I got to see Mississippi State and Kentucky and what this Mississippi State team is, and then a couple hours later, I watched Arizona play UCLA, and Arizona beat UCLA. You could not convince me that Mississippi State somehow beat Arizona earlier this season.
No, you can't.
Talk about a twist. But yeah, I mean it's been one hell of a year, and it was another weekend for the ages. Like I said, we've been pumping up Arizona. I got to bark real quick. We've been pumping up Arizona, and I said, Olton Betts, Take that Arizona money line, and Arizona came through and got a big time win over UCLA. Look out. The Wildcats are coming.
They coming. They
They're going to
coming.
close the year out strong. They are well on their way. They're about to be ranked.
And you love to see it.
We do love to see it. We do love to see it. And Clemson fans, I'm sure they love seeing Dabo find a way. They beat Notre Dame.
Look, my man Dabo was challenging fans over the radio.
Apply for his job.
Apply for my job. He challenged his team.
You got to go get a win after talking like that on the radio show.
He challenged his team, beat Notre Dame 31-23. and pretty much said, "Hey, bet on Clemson. If you ain't betting on Clemson, what are you doing? What are you doing?" That was pretty much his tone. And who could blame?
Big win.
Big win. Big win. Hats off to Clemson.
Hats off to Clemson on getting that one. And we're going to see, is it short-lived? Because next up, they play Georgia Tech. that is a trap game. Like, if we can call it that, with 2 5-4 teams going up against each other. Georgia 5 and is Georgia Tech 5-4? I mean, let me double check. I know Clemson is, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see.
As I research very quickly,
Georgia Tech is 5-4.
2 5-4 ball clubs.
Hey, we
squaring off against each other, vying for bowl eligibility. Who would have thought that Clemson would not be bowl eligible at week 11 of the college football season?
Who would have thought?
Not me. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's not going to be easy game. What's the line right now? Clemson 14.5. We'll keep that in mind for Bolton's bets. Mm-hmm. You know I'm big on Georgia Tech and that offense.
Yeah. They've
been putting up points lately. That ain't gonna be no walk in the park.
No. Not at all. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Like, Georgia Tech is a pretty good team, but
they are clicking.
Yeah. But Clemson is going to. I don't think they're going to lay down in this game. I think after beating the Notre Dame team, that was pretty good heading into this game. Yeah, I think that definitely brought them some confidence.
I'm sure it has.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
we'll see.
Yeah, they need to keep this. They need to keep it up because if they do lose to Georgia Tech,
they were right back at square one again.
You're right back to it. Right back to it. Like you might as well not even beat Notre Dame if that's what you're gonna turn around and do. They got to finish the season strong.
Yeah, you have to. So
they definitely have to, and we got to touch on it real quick. A&M plays Mississippi State, I believe, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
we've been saying it all year. If Jimbo loses this game, he's out of here.
I think he's done.
If they lose to this Mississippi State team, oh boy, what's the spread for this one? A&M by 18 points, and rightly so.
I don't think that spread is correct at all. I look for this game by like midweek. The spread will change rapidly.
Where do you anticipate it being by midweek?
probably by 7. Because, and I didn't want to mention this, but getting a little intel from the Mississippi State camp, there is kind of rumblings that Max Johnson might not be available for this game.
I can see that because he did get injured.
Yeah. Whatever injury he sustained after that Ole Miss game might set him back for this
If
game.
that's the case, Jimbo has to bring his third string QB. They might as well run. They might as well run Wildcat with Evan Stewart back there all game.
Hey, why not?
It might work.
Hey, it probably can work on this defense. Like this Mississippi State defense is tired. All they've done all season is literally try to defend people that they just can't defend right now.
Man. Yeah.
Because you can't play offense.
They can't. A&M, another team vying for bowl eligibility. They are 5-4. If they lose this game to Mississippi State, that would give Mississippi State the same record as them. And let me see. If I'm not mistaken, that would probably give Mississippi State a better conference record as well. Oh, nope. The Bulldogs are 1-5 in conference play. A&M is 3-3. They did have that loss to Miami in non-con.
Yeah. So,
boy.
Really,
but still,
State at this point would just be. They're just trying to rally towards the end of this season. Potentially,
they're just trying to make a bowl game.
Potentially try to get bowl eligible and go from there. And for the players, like, even though this is a veteran team, a lot of these players are going to be going. So after this season, so you need like the younger talent to get more reps, honestly. So, I mean, it'd be huge for Mississippi State to get 5-5 for the season with a chance to get 6
they definitely
wins.
Need to win this one.
Yeah,
they definitely. This one, I don't see. I mean, I know it's the Egg Bowl and anything can happen, but I don't see them winning. I don't see them winning against Ole Miss this year. I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah. I think there's no way. there's no way they can win that game at this point. It's too much. I think
I have not seen anything that gives me any hope to believe that they would win that ball game. Mm-hmm. But man, oh man, what a slate it was. Florida State was in the sneaky close game to Pitt, 24-7. Mm-hmm. If it was raining, we could have had some potential right there.
I know. It look. It always comes down to that. Rain.
The
Pittsburgh.
Weather was good.
It was there. Everything was there.
Everything was there. Colorado was in a close one with Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
The Buffs needed that one, but they just continue to struggle offensively.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a lot on the show. It is just what it is now with Colorado.
They can't run the football, man.
No, they can't. But hey, I don't think Deion's lying when he's talking about there will be changes. This man is going to have a second coming of the purge with his team.
There will be some changes made for sure.
Absolutely. He is going to rip this team limb from limb when he gets a chance. And you got signing day coming. Oh, he already has his list.
But that's the thing. it'll be interesting to see how improved the line is, even if he does bring in some new offensive linemen, whether it's via the portal. This offensive line group takes time to develop. It's just not just it ain't something you just plug and play. At least I don't think.
No.
So I'm curious to see how this pans out moving forward.
No,
we'll see.
Agree. We will see.
We'll see.
We will see.
Man.
Another great week.
Anything else you want to touch on?
No. I was just gonna say it was another great week. We're heading to week 11 now, and yeah, I think we got our little dose of calamity in college football. I mentioned it during the prediction show, but
we got a hint of chaos for sure.
Yep.
Even Georgia was on the ropes a little bit.
Yeah. But I think overall they handled it about as perfect as possible. So
definitely.
So we'll see this week with the Ole Miss game. See what happens. But
you're right,
man. But yeah, as we head out, Chris, go ahead and let the good folks know where they can find you on social media.
I'll let your boy on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_ and on Twitter at Chris_Bolton_. Well, I said Twitter. On X at Chris_Bolton_12. Get at me. And we chop it up, talk college football, and pro, NBA, wrestling. It doesn't matter. Everything.
Yeah. And you can also follow me on X as well. It's at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking about everything college football, video games, wrestling, all of that stuff. So yeah, definitely follow me then on there. But yep, that's it for us, guys. We always appreciate y'all listening in on the show, and we will be back not next Friday, but this Friday I should say, where we'll have our prediction show for week 11 of the college football season, along with another edition of Bolton's Bets. So be sure to listen then, get you some intel on how these games are gonna go. I know Chris will.
We're doing well with both his bets. 4-2, baby.
Yeah, we doing it. We doing it. So yeah, I'm very much glad that the folks can listen in. That way they can get that knowledge, Chris. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're
going for the clean sweep this week.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Bolton's Bets is definitely in for the sweeps. I'll tell you that. So, I think we'll have another great show this week for y'all. So, until then, guys, y'all take care, and we will see y'all later on this week. Peace.